Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at and installing our Curt 4-pole wiring for our 2022 Lincoln Aviator. It's going to give you your turn signals for the back of your trailer or your accessory. It's going to give you your brake lights, or it's also going to show that your tail lights are on your trailer, so it's going to alert people behind you of what your intentions are. Curt 4-pole wiring is going to be an essential if you plan on pulling any kind of small trailer behind your vehicle. This is going to be also good for if you have a bike rack that has an auxiliary lighting on it. There are some out there that do, or you can actually get aftermarket auxiliary lighting on them. On some of the bigger ones that stick out a little further, it's kind of nice to have. Also, some of your cargo carriers will have lighting systems on them as well, so this is going to work for all of that. This is going to be a setup where you could either have this setup where it's inside the back of our vehicle, like we have ours in here today. What this is going to do is you're going to be able to have this in the back instead of having it hanging around back here. So this one we don't have a mount set up, so this is really good. We can just tuck this in the back. If we wanted, we could even put this in below in our spare tire area, and it would completely be out of the way. So with that, all you have to do is either leave it in the back, or when you need it, you can just go ahead and close this up, hook it to your trailer, and you're good to go. As far as installation, it's pretty straightforward. Everything's going to be done here in the back besides running your wire underneath up to the front. If it's something you don't have time to do yourself, you can take a look at our dealer locator and have something done for you locally, or if you feel like installing it yourself, stick around, watch our video, and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation, we're going to need to get back down into the spare tire area. So what we want to do is just pull out our covers for that. Now we'll need to remove our rear threshold. Just want to pull up, see if you can get your hands into one side, and then over in the bottom, you're going to have your inside, you're going to want to pull that way. That's going to unlatch it. And do that on both sides. Now we can just pull straight up, working our way across. Now behind it, we're going to have a wiring harness. I'm going to push in on the tab and pop that loose. Now on both sides, we're going to have this little tray area. We just want to lift up on that, and those will come out really easy. On both sides, we're going to have our cargo loop. What we need to do is it has this plastic cover on it. So we just want to get behind that right up here. You can see where it kind of just sits behind it. You can kind of pull up on the bottom of it a little bit. We'll get behind it and pop that out. And behind it we have a bolt we need to get out. So just carefully pop that out of the way. We have a 7mm bolt behind there. It's going to remove those on both sides. Now this piece of trim here on both sides, we want to pop that back so we can get access to our taillight wiring behind here. So I'm going to start right here and just get this to pop up and just work my way up, pulling back away from it. Now right behind here is going to be our wiring harness we're going to be working from. I have our box here, and this is going to be what sets up our 4-pole wiring. Our black wire coming out, that is going to be our positive wire, so that's going to go through a grommet out and then onto the extension wire and then run forward. This wire set is going to be going on the driver's side. Our green is going to run over under our threshold over to the passenger side, and then we have our white wire, which will be a ground. So what I want to do first, before I get our box stuck in place, I just want to get my wiring plugged into my driver's side first. You're going to have a little tab on the end of it. You're going to push down and pull your wire back. Now we have the end of our wire out. We're going to have our male and female ends. This end is going to plug in. You can see your clip end here. We want those to line up with these ribs. Pop that in place. Now we can pop in our other end to the one we just unplugged. Good audible click. Now you want to tuck in your plug so we have enough room to get our panel put back in place. On the passenger side, we're going to have the same plug basically in the same location. We're just going to follow the same procedure we did on the driver's side with our green wires. Now that we have our wire plugged in, we're just going to make sure we have a good place to tie it up here in the back. We have some factory wiring harness we can tie this off to. But for now, we'll just leave it loose. Now we'll figure out where we want to get our box mounted. We have a nice flat spot right back here, and it's going to give us enough play in our wires, so I'm going to mount my box over here. So what I want to do is just take some alcohol on a rag and get that area where I want that box to mount nice and clean. Clean that up real good and let that dry. And that's where we're going to end up sticking our box. Before I stick it down, I want to get my positive wire all set up. And we're going to go through this small grommet up here in the front. So what I'll do is I'll take this little grommet and I'll just put a little X in it. Or not even, you can just even put a little slit in it. And then we'll just run our wire through, down and out. And that's how we're going to get our wire run forward. But for now, I want to strip off a little more wire. And now I am using an optional heat shrink butt connector. Just get that crimped in place. Now on our extension wire that comes in our kit, I want to strip an end off of that. Get that twisted up tight. Now we'll run that into our heat shrink butt connector that we just plugged into our box side. Push our wire in. And get that crimped in place. Now we'll take our heat source and get our heat shrink butt connector sealed up. This is essentially going to seal up and shrink up around the line on both ends. So what that's going to do is give us a good waterproof seal. That way you're not going to have any corrosion in your fitting. Now I have a small hole in our grommet. We can just run our line in. Now that I have my grommet run up my line, I can run the line down through the hole. Get that coming out through the bottom. And once I get this all the way down to the point where I want it, I can put my grommet back in place. We have our power wire run out. We're just going to stick our box in place. Let's take our double stick tape that came in our kit, get it put onto the bottom. I found a good ground location for our white wire. This is already going to have our ring terminal on it. So right here, we have a 10 millimeter. I'm just going to back that off. I'm going to put our ground wire on there and just tighten that back down. Now we're just going to go ahead and get our wire, green wire that's running across. We're going to get this tied up to our factory wiring across the back. Now we have everything wired up in the back. We have our positive wire run through our grommet, and we have our ground set up with our white wire. Our wire's hooked up on our passenger side and our driver's side. Now you go ahead and go back through and start popping in your panels, but I do recommend waiting to get it completely put it back together until you make sure you do a test on it and everything looks good. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and start running our wire forward, and we'll show you how we did that. Got our line that comes out of our grommet up behind our wheel well. We got it to come down and over. We ran it up here, and I found a place where I could run it through the frame across, because our battery is on the passenger side and our box is on the driver's side. So I wanted to get it to jump over across here. Then I went up and over, up through here, up over our cross member, away from our drive shafts and any of our suspension components, all the way across over, went up, hooked off to some factory line that runs all the way up through here. So I pulled this down, tied off to that, ran up through, and staying underneath this is going to help protect it as well. So we came over to here, ran up, and I found a spot where I could run straight up behind this heat shielding away from our exhaust, and then straight up, and it got me to pop out right up underneath the battery. Now what I did is I just used some plastic line and I ran my wire onto that, and then just ran the plastic line up and then had my wire attached to it. So that way, when I got back underneath the hood, I was able to grab that plastic line and pull all of my wire up through to where I wanted it to come out up underneath the hood. Now keep in mind, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're keeping it away from heat sources like your exhaust and moving parts. So anytime you can get that to go up underneath something and away from exhaust or things that are going to get hot is the best way to do this. Another thing you want to keep in mind is don't get it by shocks or any of your moving components underneath here like your axles. So make sure you're always going up, over, and away from your exhaust or moving components. We need to get our fuse holder set up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut our fuse holder. Now you can do it in the middle, however your setup works best for you. It doesn't really matter. What we need to do is we're going to strip off one of our ends. After we have that stripped off, twist it tight. Take our ring terminal from our kit. Get that ran onto our fuse holder and crimp that on nice and tight. Now that we've done that, we can strip our other end. Twist that end tight. Now we'll get our heat shrink butt connector crimped on. Now we can connect that to our power wire we have run from underneath the vehicle. And just to make sure we have a good crimp on those, I like to do this, kind of give it a little pull, make sure we have a good connection. Now we'll shrink this up. Now we got our fuse holder connected down here to our positive terminal. You want to make sure and double check that you do have your positive terminal on these. They are buried back in here and it's kind of difficult to get to, but we do have it hooked to our positive terminal here. Now we're going to take our 15 amp fuse and plug that into our fuse holder. Get that covered up. Now we can hide our wire. Let's tuck our wire down in. Now we can do a quick light check with our tester and make sure everything looks good. I'm going to do left turn. We'll do right turn. We'll do brakes with left turn. Brakes with right turn. And have our headlights on. They are also working, so all of our lights do work. And that was a look at our Curt 4-pole wiring for 2022 Lincoln Aviator. I'm Scott with eTrailer, and thanks for watching.